Yeah, you know, some kids need to be pushed and things like that. But what if you have a kid you don't really connect to, or not every coach has that relationship with their players.
You know,
do you know what I mean?
That's part of the you know, that's one of the hard things about being a coach, because you have to connect with so many different attitudes, parents' attitudes, all of these different types of things. So again, what goes into the decision, should my child play for this coach, is every coach has a style. Every coach have a way that they do things. Is this what's best for my child? Because, you know, although we want to connect with every child, that's not the reality a lot of times. And it doesn't mean that your child can't play or is a bad child because they can't perform for me. Because maybe it is me. And that's okay. So we just need a different situation here. You know, maybe you need to be at another school under a different coach. You know, it's not saying anything that I'm a bad coach. It's not saying that you're a bad player. It's just saying that we don't connect. So the decision should have probably been made prior to, you know, in the research of going to that school or, you know, that travel program or whatever. Who's going to be coaching my child? Let me watch this coach. Let me see how he get the most out of his players.
Yeah, but sometimes some things are hearsay. And I like to think that I'd like to give someone the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so if to me, if I found that if the coach and my child or whatever, or the child doesn't get along, I think it's a responsibility of the parent to be like, you know, what if they can't move out of their school or whatever? So I think as a parent, you have to take that responsibility. Okay, so if this is not working here, what other options can I do meanwhile while he's here? What other avenues can I do or use to help my child? And I feel like a lot of parents don't do that. They say, okay, well, this coach is not doing this or this coach is not doing that. They may not be able to go anywhere. But you as the parent, you have to do the research. You have to make those connections. You can't put it all on the coach. I agree. But at the same time, coaches do have to understand that, yeah, you're imperfect. There's some biases and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like some of them don't acknowledge that.
I mean, we all are imperfect, you know, except me, you guys. All of you guys. But no, there's a lot of different things. But and there's a natural progression to things. And here's who the coaches are going to gravitate to. I'm giving away the coach's creed by saying you're going to navigate to the hard workers. You're going to navigate to the people that you don't have to push as hard. You're going to navigate to that because that's winning. That's progress. Everyone navigates to that. And so, you know, one style is not the particular way for everyone. So do I take the time to be able to see what pushes this young lady's button rather than this person's button? And that's a process as well, too. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to be involved, it's like, hey, Coach Simpkins, you know, I noticed that you kind of yelled at my daughter when she did this. This may not be the best approach for her, you know, in a public forum like that, you know. So now we both are learning what's best for your daughter, you know. I can take constructive things, but when it started just being negative talk about a coach before it was some you made the choice to come to me to talk to me the best way to coach your daughter, I can handle that. But when it's the negative talk about the coach that I can't handle because it begins to alienate the child.
How do you feel as a parent in this process, trying to navigate yourself through it, trying to get certain answers, trying to find things out as a mother? Because, you know, fathers may be treated a little bit different than mothers when trying to seek certain information. So how do you guys deal with that? You first, in terms of being around a lot of kids that are high profile, and you're not getting yours yet. But how do you go through that, and how do you deal with it?
You have to know, what are you going to get out of this camp?
Yes.
And is it right for your situation and for your child?
Because and your budget.
Not right. Not every kid is going to be Ohio State material or, you know, some Michigan State. So you have to look at your own situation and not look at somebody else and say, oh, well, this kid is going to this camp and it's going to be all these kids, so I'm going to take my kid. Well, realistically, look at your situation. Is that going to be the best camp for your kid to go to? And one of the things that I've always told my son is, we can't worry about what everybody else is doing. Our ultimate goal is for you to get a free education and to play college ball. And I think sometimes kids and coaches too, the big discussion is the big schools, big name schools.
Yeah.
So I've always told him, we're not worried about that. You know, it's good if that happens, but at the end of the day, it's all about a free education and you being able to hopefully do something that you enjoy. And if you can get a scholarship at Michigan State, I will be just as glad if you can get a scholarship at Saginaw Valley.
Okay.
I will be just as happy, just as proud, and I don't want them to be so caught up on this kid got a scholarship here, so that's my goal. No, what's your goal and what can we do and what's going to be beneficial for you in your situation? And from the time he first started playing football and as he got into middle school and high school, he's always been told, oh, well, you're so small, you can't go here. You're not going to pass the eye test. Coaches are not going to see you because of your size and stature and stuff like that. And, you know, he may not meet that eye, but there's a school somewhere and a coach somewhere that'll say, hey, his size doesn't matter to us, so we're going to offer him a scholarship. And we have to be content with that and understand our situation and not compare our situation to anybody else's, because not every kid is going to be not going to be able to play at a certain school, and you have to accept the fact that he or she may not be this type of material, and be satisfied and be happy and be proud of what scholarships you can get, and don't let anybody else take that away from you or try to downplay it.
Well, the girls are just beginning to get familiar with the process. They have trained, they have played for a couple of years, and the parents decided to move them to another organization simply because they wanted the exposure and they wanted the training for them. And so far, it's been working really, really well for them. We are so proud of them. They have opened up their Twitter account, and we have also explained to them that it needed to be treated like a business account, and that they're going to get exposure and they have to be, their natural selves, and be careful. Don't let all their friends know about it. And they've been handling it very, very well. I didn't know anything about all this until we moved along. I can see how beneficial it is to have them start here in the 7th grade.
Yes.
And the one thing I like about my girls here is that they're not big-headed. They just want to learn everything they can. They're like little sponges. I mean, if they don't know anything, they'll go on YouTube and just study it. I mean, everything is, they Google it up. And we are so very proud of them. And I love that we were invited to this session right here, because just from the other parents, I'm learning so much. And I think the girls are absorbing it now. So thank you very much for asking us.
It's actually a great situation because, and that's how I was gonna kind of talk to Coach about that, about the two babies right there, because when you speak about making sure you do research and make sure you go to your best situation. See, a lot of people come to this area, and this area, we have to understand when it comes to this recruiting and exposure, a lot of it has to do with socioeconomics, okay? Now, if you're from the city, you're from Flint, you're from what have, a place like that, what have you, the more of the hood, what have you, so to speak. It's like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, you gotta go down the grind and go to college. If you go to school in Saline, Ann Arbor, what have you, most of those kids are going to college anyway. Their parents are paying for school, their siblings are going to school. So you may be at a school to where the coach may say, hey, I don't do that. I don't push my kids to go to college or what have you. So you have to do that research. What kind of school am I sending my kid to? You understand what I'm saying? Does this coach help kids get into college? We have schools right here in this area. There's a school not far from here 4 years ago. They didn't have kids going to school. Coach comes to this area. Next thing you know, everybody in the school is getting offered because he brought that mentality to this area. And with you having these babies in the 7th grade, now prior to getting to high school, okay, let me send my kid to a coach to where he does help put kids in college. Let me make sure I send my kids to a coach to where he does make sure the academics are on point. So you are at a great stage right now to where a lot of mistakes that a lot of us in here have made, you can kind of use us as your guinea pig, so to speak. So the babies are actually in a great position right now, and I'm glad that you came, because the information that you can take forth, social media that we talked about, marketing that we talked about, make sure you're getting with the right coach, your reputation preceding you, those type of things, because I really didn't get knee deep into recruiting really until my second son came through. My first son, I was on the fly, like a lot of mothers, you know, are, you know, learning this information as you go along. But once you get into it, and the earlier you get involved in the process, the much better you'll be. So it's a business. Those babies, because college is going to treat it like a business.
Yes.
College is going to treat it like a business. So they have to kind of take that approach, and as their guidance or their, you know, parent, what have you, you have to take it, you know, that approach too. So you're in a great situation right now. So and learn to weed out the mess and silence the mess.
We feel very blessed with all of this because we didn't know I didn't know anything, and Mother does do a lot of research, and we just feel honored at this point.
So after my football career, I would like to do business management.
I want to own my own business. To design like cars.
Oh, okay, cool. You like cars? Mm-hmm. What's your favorite?
A Bugatti.
Bugatti. Okay.
I thought she was gonna say a Hellcat. Bugatti.
Well, I got like 3 choices, but I gotta narrow it down to one. Is business marketing. I want to be a surgeon, and I want to go into law.
Oh.
Like she said, I want to own my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. When I get to college, I want to double major though, like entrepreneur, like business, and in a medical field, you know, because I think I want to be a surgeon, you know, because this is my daughter right here. So,
I want to go into physical training and possibly be an athletic trainer.